the Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. So on this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Sterling Dixon and Alberto Ramirez. Sterling and Alberto are first-year students in our full-time MBA class of 2026, and they are both members of the Student Admissions Committee. I recently caught up with Sterling and Alberto to talk more about their backgrounds, what led them to Darden, what attracted them to serving on the Student Admissions Committee, their plans for the months ahead, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. As always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to Experience Darden so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. And now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Sterling Dixon and Alberto Ramirez. Alberto, Sterling, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great being here.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Exciting day in Charlottesville. Snow on the ground. It's not always a snow day. Sterling, you were particularly excited about a snow day?
Yeah, I'm originally from Boston, so it's just nice to. I actually didn't know if we would get snow in Charlottesville, but this is our third snow day. We had a half day today, so we went in for class, got out a bit early. So it's nice to still get to play in the snow. A lot of our friends' first time seeing snow was last week, so that was pretty fun for them too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I know y'all are really busy with everything going on in the first year. Alberto, how is everything going?
It's going well. Like we're almost about to end core. So people are a little bit like it's kind of like a bittersweet moment because we're done with like the heavy classes and we're going into the electives, which is like what you want to learn. But also it means like people are going to start like getting out of their own sections. So it's a little bit of a bittersweet moment in that respect, I would say.
What section are you?
Section A, and Sterling over there is like way down the line in section E. Section A is the first letter of the alphabet. I'm just saying.
And how is section A doing in Darden Cup?
I will not speak about that. I will not because a Darden Cup is just it's just for the kids. It's for the kids. It's for having fun. We care about real issues here. We care about the real world, academic performance, so on and so forth.
I appreciate that. You're at business school for the school part of business school. Yes, serious students in Section A. Sterling, you're a member of Section E. How's Section E doing in Darden Cup?
We're doing a lot better than Section A. We're actually in second place by, I think, 1 or 2 points, which is very, very small. We have an upcoming Darden Cup event tomorrow, which is the talent show. And so Section E is really putting in a lot of effort to get that first place win, to hopefully win all of Darden Cup. So we're pretty excited.
Can you explain
let's calm down there. Let's chill a little bit.
Sterling, can you explain what the talent show is? Because some of our listeners may be less familiar with what's an annual highlight here in the Darden Cup calendar.
So basically every section puts on a little skit. It's max 10 minutes long, and each section gets to choose their own theme. Unfortunately, we can't release the themes yet for tomorrow just because they're pretty secret until they're actually presented. But it's typically like a pop culture theme mixed with Darden events or jokes or whatever. And so they're pretty entertaining. And the whole section comes together. So it's first years and second years that come together to put on that skit for 10 minutes. And then we have judges that score it.
And the judges are typically faculty, staff from the Darden community as well?
I believe so, yeah.
All right. Well, exciting. Good luck to Section A and Section E in the talent show tomorrow night. I know that'll be a lot of fun. So let's talk a little bit more about you. I will note that the inspiration for this conversation is all about our Student Admissions Committee that works with full-time MBA applicants. But before we get into the Student Admissions Committee part of the conversation, I want to give our listeners a chance to learn a little bit more about you and your backgrounds and how you ended up here at Darden. So Alberto, can I come to you first? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So I'm originally from Peru. I did not expect to do an MBA at all. Like like before I did the GMAT and stuff. The reason why I started doing the GMAT was because my brother-in-law was studying and we always rib each other off. We'd like make fun of each other. So I was like, don't you remember how to do math? This is like the Pythagorean theorem and stuff like that, basic arithmetics. And he went like, then you do it if it's so easy. So I decided to do the GMAT just because of that. I got a good grade, and then I decided to apply to a few schools. Dude, I mean, I might as well, if I had the GMAT, might as well apply. So at that point, I was very into what it was like sustainability. So I applied to a few schools, and I ended up in Darden. But Darden wasn't my first choice at the beginning. I had other because I said like sustainability and entrepreneurship was it's still big at Darden, but there's other schools, other programs that have also those like benefits. And during the process of admissions, once I got into the schools, some of them were giving more money, some of them less in terms of scholarships. But the thing that made my decision easy was I started talking to other students that were at Darden, and it was like one conversation that I had with Nini, who's also a Peruvian from second year, and she was always willing to listen. She was always willing to pick up the phone and help out, even when she had some personal issues going on back in Peru. She was like willing to help out, willing to listen, willing to be there. And like from other, that's something that I didn't feel from other programs, other students from other programs. But that was my experience. Doesn't mean like it's that way in all sense. But to me, that just meant I had a better fit at Darden, and that's why I'm here right now.
So Nini has been on the podcast for folks who want to hear her story. She has been on the show before. We had Nini and her husband, which is fun to do a couples conversation. Thank you, Alberto. Sterling, tell us a little bit more about you. Who are you and what's your background?
Yeah, so a little bit of a different journey here than Alberto. I wanted to come to business school. I um, primarily wanted to come because I felt like where I was in my career was kind of at a standstill. I did consulting for a few years. I then moved into a tech startup where I did product management, which was interesting, but I felt the urge to do something else. And I didn't really know what that meant. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity to go to business school. Unlike Alberto, it took me about 2 years to get a score on the GRE that I was confident about before applying. But throughout the entire process, Darden was my top choice. I had spoken to a bunch of people. My aunt and uncle actually went here. And I wanted a school that was case method. I wanted a school that had a really tight-knit community. And my entire process through even before I submitted my application to stepping foot on grounds had been just so personal and really special. And so at every point that my process, it was absolutely a no-brainer that Darden was my top choice.
I appreciate, how your interactions shaped your enthusiasm for the school. I'm curious, given your roles with the Student Admissions Committee, did you engage with the SAC or anybody on the SAC when you were doing your research and kind of making your decision? Sterling, was that part of your journey?
Yes, I went to 2 Darden days, which last year I believe we had 3. This year we have 2. But again, I was talking to a current second year. She was a first year last year, basically asking like, how are my experience at Darden days? Do I like hearing, everything about Darden? Do I have any questions? Is there anything they can do better for the admitted students? And I gave my feedback, and between my first Darden day and my second Darden day, I could see some of my feedback and my ideas actually come into play the second time I showed up. And it made such a huge difference for me. And so that's what gave me the idea to be on the SAC myself. I wanted to make that difference for other incoming students or prospective students.
How about you, Alberto? Do you have any engagement with the SAC when you were a prospective student?
Completely zero. So for me, like that, I had no engagement with them at all. So for me, it was like I wanted to have that engagement and I wanted to make things a little bit more easier for the international part because like I think Darden Days is great. It's amazing and it's very good. Domestic students come here, but like it's very hard for internationals to book the ticket, go over there and stuff like that. So there's some virtual engagement going on that was there last year too. But I think a few things that we've done, I think a little bit different is we've been focusing a lot more on the cultural aspect of it, on like who we are as people and being more genuine, which comes easy for a lot of us. So one of Holly from admissions told me the other day that we broke a record in one of the Darden cheers, which is a virtual just meeting with people, just talking to each other during a Zoom call. And we broke a record. We stayed there over like 3 hours and something. And we're just like shooting like just talking, just like having fun. I was cooking. Like then I came into another Zoom meeting with Bartels and we just had some fun. So it's a lot easier for the internationals to see that if they see someone who went through something similar instead of just like trying to book a ticket to Darden Days and stuff.
All right. But before we get too much into the Student Admissions Committee and your sort of plans for the coming months, I want to talk just a little bit more about your respective stories and experiences here at Darden. So, Sterling, we've already established that you're a member of Section E. What was the adjustment process like for you being a first-year student and a graduate business student navigating Darden?
Yeah. So the first month and a half, so busy. You barely have time to breathe, but it's the best kind of busy. So I actually was fully remote before I came to Darden. And so when I came here, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I just every single second of my day is completely booked up. But eventually you hit your stride. And I also think, making friends because you're so busy doing events or activities with different people within the Darden community, so easy to make friends here. Everyone comes here looking to make friends themselves. And so the social aspect and like I never felt lonely. I never felt alone. Just felt busy. And then eventually, you hit your stride, you figure out your schedule and things calm down and you kind of get into the rhythm of it. But it's been the best. I don't know how long has it been? 6 months. And it's just been awesome.
Yeah, it's worth noting that it's a process. I think folks should know that you're not going to come in and immediately know how to do all of this at the same time. You have a lot of things you're trying to work on. You've got class stuff, learning how to be a Darden student. You've got career stuff. You have all the social stuff going on too. You want to be able to do all of these things and figuring out where you put your time, your energy, how to juggle these all important priorities. That's a process for folks. Alberto, what was the adjustment like for you being a Darden student, moving to Charlottesville? Getting settled in a new place, new country. What was that like?
Honestly, going out is very different here than in Latin America. That's my biggest takeaway, I think. Usually things, because it was surprising to me because people started like, okay, let's grab dinner. Let's grab dinner at 6 a.m., like 6 p.m. Sorry. Like what? Like that is so early for a lot of us. And that was a little bit jarring for like a bunch of the internationals. Like, let's go out. Yeah, let's go out at 8 p.m. Like that was completely wild to us. Like, what are we doing here? So that was actually a very big getting used to it because stuff closed very early here, and there's not. It's a little bit weird in that sense for us internationals, but you can still find your people. You can still find the people you have fun with. And I got a lot of friends by just going to either TNDCs or to events and stuff like that, and just like engaging with them and just talking to them. I barely spend any time in my own apartment. and at all. I barely sleep here as it is. But one of the things that is a running joke amongst some of our friends in first year is that whenever I throw a party, I don't ever throw it at my house. I think I've thrown two parties at Sterling's house. I've thrown a party at another at Tyler's house, another one at Tosin's. I'm throwing one on Friday at Anna Sol's place, and I'm getting a mechanical bull for it. So yeah, it's a running joke here, but like that's something that I really enjoy about Darden is like you can make whatever you want to make. It's very student led. It's very entrepreneurial in that sense. So if there's something you want to do, you have the tools to do it, and it just takes the will and the time to do it.
Like you've had a very busy 6 months, both of you, which is pretty typical for Darden students, I would say. So Sterling, obviously, it sounds like you've done a lot over this past 6 months. You mentioned how much you've enjoyed it. What's been the big highlight for you when you think back on this time? Is there something that jumps out to you, either on the academic side, career side, something that stands out from your time?
That's a really hard question, just because I probably have a list of 50 things in my mind. Um, I think something that stands out to me about Darden, specifically in the community here and my time here, is everyone says like Darden's a lot of work and it's really difficult and it's very academically, tough compared to some other business schools, and that's true. However, we still know how to have a good time. So, like, for example, in class, sometimes we'll have a really tough, whether it's an accounting class or a financial class, and someone will raise their hand and make a funny joke to kind of lighten the mood. And it really changes the entire atmosphere of the class, like kind of lets us breathe again. Not only are students joking, but the professor's joking. And I think just that speaks a lot to the environment around Darden. And so, I mean, that's just like a teeny example. There's tons of other funny things that happen in section. But that really speaks to what it's like to be here. You learn a lot, but you also have a very, very good time.
I do think it's worth noting how much fun the students have within their section, as that's really a core part of this, at least first 3 quarters of the first year experience. Alberto, do you have a favorite thing about the first year thus far? Something that you really enjoyed, something that stands out from your time?
Something that really stands out. There's as same as Sterling. There's a bunch of moments like that, but I think there's a lot of big moments. There's a lot of small moments, but I think the ones that I remember more than just like a big party or a big event that happened or neon party or Halloween or whatever it may. It's like the smallest gestures that sometimes happen. For example, there was there's 5 section reps. There's me, there's Bartels, there's Lizzie, Charlotte, and there's Raquel for one for each section. And like like sometimes Charlotte gives her little notes during the day, just like sends them our way. And then I know Bartels really likes her Diet Coke. So sometimes I just see a Diet Coke, I just buy it and give it to her. And it's like getting to know those people at a deep level, not just on a superficial one, and knowing what makes them tick, when they're feeling down, when they're feeling up, when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're stressed, and just being there for them in those small gestures kind of way. I think that speaks a lot about like the community that you can build here that is more than just transactional. So I think that to me is like my biggest takeaway. Either that or the fact that I dressed up as Santa Claus during like Christmas. Either or, you take your pick, I guess.
I think those are both good examples, and I recognize it's kind of a fundamentally kind of unfair question. It's hard to distill 6 months down to a favorite memory, but I appreciate both of your notes, because I do think both of your comments come back to people right? The experience that you're having, the relationships that you form, the people who are a part of your class, and how y'all have gotten to know each other during this time. So let's talk more about the Student Admissions Committee. Sterling, you want to tell us a little bit more about what this committee is?
Yeah. So we have a very large committee this year. How many people there are? Maybe 60 altogether. And essentially what we do is we plan all the events for the admitted students. So if you've gone into Darden and you want to find out about what type of housing there is available for students, we have a housing panel. If you want to come to admitted students weekend, the SAC plans that entire weekend. And we basically run it as well. If there's this thing called Darden Cheers, where once you get in, you get to have this like online on Zoom happy hour where you just get to meet other admitted students from all over the world and just chat, have a drink, ask any questions, again, led by the Student Admissions Committee. And so every year we're trying to add in different like events that we think admitted students would enjoy. And so we're constantly improving and trying to do the best that we can. But yeah, that's kind of the SAC in a nutshell.
Alberto, what are some of the things you mentioned, this sort of importance around sort of genuine conversations and giving people a chance to connect both in person and virtually, obviously recognizing that a number of our admitted students can't make it to Charlottesville as part of their sort of decision-making process. Like, what are some of the things that the SAC has added this year or kind of thought really sort of intentionally about sort of folding into the programming or resources you're offering?
I don't know if this was done last year, but I think one of the things we did this year was like sending notes written by the students themselves. And like you just like we had a list of admitted students and you just wrote a note. And I think that I did is like I chose international students mostly. I chose like 5 or 6. And I tried to write in their own language. For example, I had a student from Korea. There was a student from Spain. That's Spanish. That one was pretty easy to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Then there was a student from Brazil, and there was a student from China. So I tried to write in the act, like I tried to write in Portuguese. I wrote in I don't know what the language in Korea is, but like I wrote in Korean and I wrote in Mandarin with like the sign language, not sign language, but like with the signs. And they wrote back to me either through WhatsApp or through LinkedIn that they really appreciated that, and that meant a lot to them because it wasn't in English. It wasn't like a normal thank you note. It was like me making the effort to trying to communicate to them in their own language, which they really appreciated that a lot. And the other thing that I think is really, really cool about the SAC is when offers come out, we usually we send an email to congratulate them and like be like, hey, do you need some help and stuff like that? And usually people send emails first, but I'm a little bit more gung-ho about it. So I just straight up call them and we just start talking about like, hey, what are you doing right now? How do you feel? I'm so happy you got in. I'm certain you have other options. What can I do to help you? And then we just start talking about their own life, what they're doing, how they decided to apply to an MBA. They tell me about their families and stuff. And I think that personal interactions means a lot to me. And I think it means a lot to them too, from like the feedback I've gotten from them. So I think that's a cool thing we're trying to do now, just for the sake of not only the international but the domestic too. Even when they came here during the first Darden days, after the dinner we had, I just took them all to the corner and we stayed there with a bunch of them, just drinking and just like talking about it. We got a lot of commits on that day. It was fun to just not feeling transactional, just like letting loose and just relaxing and just talking as if we're just friends.
Sterling, what has been the highlight for you in terms of serving on the Student Admissions Committee? Obviously, you got a lot of things going on, so this is something you volunteered for, and it sounds like your own recruitment experience. It was SAC was a big part of that, but what's been a highlight for you?
I think it's when I meet an admitted student at the very beginning of their process or the beginning of the weekend, and I'm, hey, like, are you committed? Are you not? And they're like, ah, I'm, considering other schools. And then by the end of the weekend, they're like, yeah, I'm 99% sure I want to come to Darden. And we kind of have a conversation of like, okay, well, like, what are you worried about? Like, where is that 1% coming from? And just seeing that excitement grow throughout the entire weekend and having that conversation with them is something that's so exciting to me because they really clearly understand what Darden offers and they're seeing the exciting things that, I saw when I was a prospective student as well and has been confirmed since I've been here. So that's probably been my favorite part.
Alberto, you've already been through one admitted student weekend. You got another one coming up, not too distant future, typically in April or so for the next one. What did you enjoy about the first admitted student weekend?
Well, it was like people usually said that you're gonna get tired by the end of it and stuff, but I wasn't at all. I'm a person who gets a lot of energy about social interactions instead of like I need battery and like it drains me. So it was a lot of fun to me from like the start of just like seeing them walk up the stairs. I had met a lot of them earlier that day, well, the day before, just like at a drinks thing. But then just seeing them walk up the stairs and just like everybody was like cheering and stuff and seeing them walk, that was pretty cool because some of them got really excited and they started high-fiving people. So that was pretty cool. And then just watching them react to the case method and seeing how the case method actually is and seeing them enjoy it because it's not a normal learning experience. And to me, like that's a more fun learning experience, just seeing other people's perspective and just having a class discussion. That was also very fun. And finally, as like to me, like relationships are the most important part of like the program. And you could see how some people were getting, hey, are you gonna live here? What do you want to live at PAF? Do you have a roommate? Do you want to live with someone? And seeing those interactions happen in real time, that was very cool. I was searching for a little Sterling over there. I was searching for who could be Sterling of next year. I didn't find one. I was like maybe next Saturdays we'll see one, or maybe I didn't interact with one. Uh, so that was also pretty cool seeing like how some people, oh, this guy reminds me of this guy reminds me of that guy, and like that relationship reminds me of how I'm with Sterling, or how I'm with this guy, or how I'm with this friend. It's just like it's like very, very fun to see them building this relationship and us also helping this relation because it's not only that we're the admissions committee and stuff, we're also going to be second years. Some of us are going to be coaches to them, some of us are going to be tutors to them, some of us are going to be mentors, we're going to help them recruit. So getting those interactions, I think is very, very fun and very, very worthwhile. And something I really want to do next year is having a very strong bond between the first year and the second years that don't feel like, hey, I'm just meeting you because I need some help with technicals, or I need a coffee chat. No, I want to meet you because I had fun with you and I want to play some Catan, or I want to just grab some drinks and stuff.
Sterling, what was your favorite thing about the mid student weekend? Nice, probably to be on the other side of it here as a SAC member.
I think my favorite part was meeting the excited admitted students and kind of helping them, actually answering their questions was pretty exciting to me. A lot of people are trying to figure out where they want to live. I am a big fan of where I live. And so I really try and I have a dog too. So, you know, couples or students with dogs, they typically are a little bit more nervous about where they're going to live and how that's going to work out. And so just kind of being there to answer questions, give them a tour of my place or whatever, brings me a lot of joy. And then I actually got a message from a committed student being like, hey, I just signed an apartment right in your complex. Thank you so much for all the help. And so just kind of getting that full circle effect of, wow, I was really able to help them. They're super excited. That's one thing off their plate. And they can kind of look forward to just like getting settled and when they get here.
Why do you think, Sterling, coming to this with this question first, why do you think visiting Charlottesville is so impactful for people? It does seem like it makes a big difference, coming to one of these admitted student weekends as people think through their decision and kind of finalize things. I think you and Alberto have both noted, like people come and then all of a sudden maybe they weren't so sure, then within just a couple of days, perhaps their decision has been made for them. Why do you think it's so impactful?
There's something about the environment here that you can't even put into words. And I don't know if it's just kind of the buy-in that everyone has when you get here, like everyone's drinking that Kool-Aid and that's some great Kool-Aid. Or if it's, it's that cool hybrid of you're in a like a college town, but it's also a city, so there's great restaurants to explore. There's tons of wineries and breweries and hiking trails. And everyone just overall seems very happy. And I think that's what makes Darden and Charlottesville so special is it's just like on overall, everyone's just living in this happy space. Um, and you can't really get that until you visit. I mean, we could say it as much as we want, but you don't really see it until you experience it for yourself.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to describe. Best to experience. Alberto, why do you think visiting Charlottesville is so impactful for folks?
As Sterling was saying, it's like it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to see it with your own eyes. Because a lot of programs will tell you, yes, we're all about community, we're all about helping each other, we're all about supporting each other. But once you're here, you can really see it. It's like when you're doing like for example those internship things that you do, you go visit the office and you check out the actual office culture. Sometimes they tell you something that is not there. Sometimes you see it for your own eyes and you like validate their own things that you had thought out before. So I think it's see it see it with your eyes and experience it. Like that's what makes the difference. And while it's true, like we're all happy in a sense, it's more, I think it's more than being happy, is we're all supportive of each other. Like no matter, like there's very distinct memories that I have when like I've helped others just because I wanted to help others. And even being on SAC, we have around 60 people that are willing to help during this process. And for sure, like not everyone is as involved as some others, but there's still 60 people that took their time out of their day to help with this. And 60 people is almost like 20% of our own class, which just goes to show how many people are involved. And we have more people than that didn't know they had to apply for this, but they are still willing to help and they still come, take time out of their day. There's like 10 or 20 more people that come during the Darden days to just help and just be there if they need anything. And that just goes to show like the level of commitment that we have, not only to ourselves, because you want to be good, you want to go to a program that will give you the tools that you need for your pivot, for your next thing in the career wise, but for others. And I think that's like recently we've been studying stakeholder theory in business ethics. Yeah, I know Sterling's laughing right now, but I do pay attention in class. I know, surprising. But it's been a very like not only informative, but I think many of us are aligned with that sort of thinking of just not only try to take trade-offs and try to think of the bigger picture of your community, of like the people you work with, of your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, the company itself, and stuff like that. And I think that's very big in the Darden community. And I think we all like really drink that Kool-Aid when we get here.
So Sterling, I'm wondering, what are you looking forward to in the coming months? Obviously, you've got another Darden Day is coming up in April, but what are you looking forward to? I'm also certain that you've got school and job stuff that you're also thinking about.
Yeah. So I am actually looking forward to start taking our electives and sitting in class with some people I've never sat in class with. I'm sure Alberto's a hoot in class. So no, but like once we move outside of core, your entire classroom shifts. So for those who don't know, all of core, you're sitting with the same 70 people. And so for us, that was the first 3 quarters. And in our last quarter, that all shifts. So of course, I'm going to absolutely miss my whole section, but I'm pretty excited to just learn with new people and get that experience and just learn different topics outside of core and electives that I actually got to choose, which is pretty exciting.
Not to put you totally on the spot, but can you remember any of the classes that you've picked? I know it's probably been maybe a little while.
Yeah, I am actually really excited for negotiations. So it's a pretty popular class here, and I feel like I can always learn how to negotiate better. Honestly, I'm not very good at it. So I think it's a very, very important skill to have, whether it's, you're trying to convince someone like a coworker to move forward with a project or a business deal, or even something as simple as negotiating your salary. I think it'll be very, very useful. And I heard that class is very good. So I'm pretty excited for that.
How about you, Alberto? What are you looking forward to in the coming months?
Well, one thing I'm looking forward is like not losing any of the gringos I'm taking to Peru in the next couple of weeks. That's very big on my really looking forward to not losing any of you guys because I'm doing a Peru trek. Sterling is also coming. There's like 70 people coming to Peru with me in March in spring break, so I'm looking forward to that. Just spending time with them in my own country and like showing them a little bit of my culture. And then the other thing that I'm looking forward to is like in Q4 with sections and like just spending time with other people. And like one of my best friends, like we're gonna have all classes together. So that's gonna be fun because we're very opposite and similar in the same way. She's very type A. I'm not as much type A. I'm more laid back, but like I'm very chaotic and she's very organized. So we have like it's a weird bunch, but we have fun. So that's gonna be fun just having all my classes with that person. And then the other thing that I'm looking forward is like in Q4, I think I'll have more of the extracurricular stuff that I like to do, which is basically having parties and having events and having gatherings across the board. Like I want to do a Catan tournament, which I couldn't do now because of like the weather and stuff, but I have the spot. I want to do casino night again. There's a bunch of things I want to do next in the next quarter, just to like kind of like end the first year with kind of like a bang. And I'm looking forward to the classes because, like, I think the classes that I picked are a little bit hard, but I think they're interesting. So, and hopefully they'll help me a little bit for my internship, which is also a plus.
Yeah, what can you tell us about one of the classes you picked?
So I picked 4. You can take 5 if you want. If like it's not really uh, talked about much, but you can take 5 if you want. Usually, most people take 3. I picked 4. I picked valuation, financial reporting, idea, and supply management, which basically 2 of those are financially based. One is like evaluating companies, and the other one is reporting about their own financials. Which those 2 classes are very like they seem interesting in a way that is good for learning for my career in that sense. Idea is more of a entrepreneurship driven class, which is basically designing a project or designing an idea, which I've always loved. So that like feeds into my creative side a little bit more. And then supply management, it's ops on a theoretical level, which I've been enjoying ops so far. We've had a few simulations which have been fun. So I think I'm looking forward to all of those classes, not one in particular more than the other. I think more than a class itself, I think I will enjoy seeing the interactions that I will have with the class because that's what makes it different. It's not like taking valuation at Darden, comparing it to take evaluation at another school. Like that big difference will be that this is a case method and how you learn is through your peers. So just changing it up with different peers that I will have, that will be very interesting in all 4 classes.
So last question for the two of you. So Sterling, you obviously talk with a lot of prospective students and admitted students who are kind of thinking through their MBA decision. What's a piece of advice that you would share with our listeners as they kind of think about their own MBA journeys?
Go with your gut, I would say. There are such incredible programs out there, and you're going to find the one that fits the best with you and what you're looking for. And if Darden is the right fit, that's absolutely incredible. So just really go with your gut, feel it out, go to those admitted students weekends. They make a huge difference. Ask every single question that you have, and hopefully that'll help you figure out where you want to go.
Yeah, there is something to be said to sort of the just intuitive kind of feel for this. I think you read a lot online, you can look at rankings, you can look at all these things, but at the end of the day, they're maybe to some of the conversation we had earlier about sort of the atmospheric aspect of being in Charlottesville and just the sort of feel that you get when you engage with people, being on grounds, if you can come visit. Culture matters a lot in terms of your experience, and that's more of a feel or a vibe kind of thing. It's harder to quantify, but you know it when you experience it. Alberto, how about you? Piece of advice for our prospective students listening to this.
I think the same as Sterling is like whatever is important to you, just over index on that. To me, it was relationships and community. So that's why I felt this was the best spot for me. To you, it may be something else. Darden gives, there's a lot of different Darden for a lot of different people. So whatever it is you're looking for, you can find it here. It can be, you want to really learn, and you think that rigor of the case method here is something you're looking for. You can really be into consulting or IB, and these are like excellent tracks for that. You can be really into Gen AI, and we recently opened a Gen AI institute, which a lot of funding to it. So there's a lot of stuff for a lot of different reasons that you may come here or you may not. But like the biggest thing is just to be true to yourself and don't try to over rationalize. The first gut feeling you get is probably correct in this sense. So if you feel this is a good spot and you can see yourself enjoying your 2 years, that's the best spot to be, because it's going to be 2 years that you're going to spend with people. And honestly, I'm just sick and tired of Sterling, and I just can't like wait for these 2 years to be over. It's been way too long. Just working with her has been hell, Brad. No, it's great. She's one of my best friends here. We met randomly, I think. I don't even remember how we met now, but like it feels forever. And like I'm happy that I have her in my life now. She has a dog that is called Pimienta, and I've been trying to steal that dog forever. She's great. Pimienta's awesome. She took her to class today, and Pimienta saw me. She got all excited because she knows me so well. But yeah, I think the biggest part here is just to be conscious of what is important to you. And if this program is giving you that, then it's a good fit. And if it's not, it's not. But there's no wrong answers. All programs are great. And we know exactly what Darden is bringing to the table. So we know we're great. Other programs are great, and we're just looking for people who are willing to be part of this community. And if you've been offered like an acceptance here, you probably are pretty awesome yourself, and you would feel exactly into this community.
I think it's a great place to stop. Sterling, Alberto, thank you so much for your time today and for the conversation. And thank you for all the work that you're doing for the school as part of the Student Admissions Committee. I know you already got really full plates. There's a lot that goes into that, a lot of time preparing for these events, planning these events, but also just engaging with students as they're making a really important decision. It's both a commitment for 2 years and also a lot longer than that if you kind of think about the alumni experience. And as was mentioned here, you're going to form relationships that'll last a very long time. So you want to be thoughtful about it. You want to take advantage of your resources. So thank you so much for your time, and thanks for all that you're doing.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Brad.
And that was my conversation with Sterling Dixon and Alberto Ramirez, two first-year students in our full-time MBA class of 2026 and two members of the Student Admissions Committee. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, and you'd like us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's Darden, @virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.